big fallout at some point over the next 4 years. What do you think that the two alphas can be in the same room? Donald becomes the president and Elon heads up, a revolutionary department that is about cutting $2 trillion off the American budget, is about reducing the size of the administrative state, is about trying to help entrepreneurs, individuals, men and women go about their lives, set up their business, create wealth without the heavy hand of bureaucracy and the state on top of them. Honestly, I think if Elon goes and does that job and Donald does his job, it'll be just fine. Is there not an ideological clash between them? Elon's talked about having higher immigration, or certainly a different type of immigration. This is utter nonsense. This is utter nonsense. What Elon has talked about, the H-1B visa, right, is about very highly skilled, very highly paid people that will come into America in relatively small numbers. The real debate is over the 10 million who've illegally crossed the border during Biden's presidency and living in America, many of them in crime gangs and all the rest of it. So I think this debate has been completely overblown. Do you think there's a risk that under Elon Musk, for all the good he's doing for the right on X, that it risks becoming a bit of a right-wing echo chamber in the same way we mocked Corbyn Knits back when it was a left-wing echo chamber? I think Elon's a hero. I think if you go back to the 2020 American presidential election and then into the pandemic, lockdowns, vaccines, anyone that took a view that was against mainstream media establishment view was just cancelled. Account suspended. Facebook being the worst. Elon buys Twitter. Zuckerberg of Meta has done a complete 180 on his position. SCL and now free speech reigns. Yeah, and some people don't like it. They find it always, it's a bit too difficult, it's a bit rude. Free speech reigns and it's a good thing. Do you think Zuckerberg was following Musk, or do you think it was a wider acceptance of Donald Trump? It wasn't a fluke this time, it wasn't a one-off, it was both. Yeah, both. Elon's broken up that space that bans skeptical views, and I mean the lockdown stuff, it was a PO. Anyone that questioned lockdown vociferously found their Facebook accounts were suspended. It was the whole thing was appalling. So no, it's both, but don't underestimate the size of a Trump victory. It's huge. Talking of Elon, I spoke to your party treasurer and he made a passing comment that a guest at party we've both been at told him he wanted to give 10 million to reform. So have you also been over here with a view to fundraising of those conversations happening in Washington? Well, if there are people, there are lots of British people here, there are lots of transatlantic types here. They might have American passports, but they live in London half the time. They might have businesses in the UK. So yeah, that's obviously part of the trip. It's not the main reason. The main reason I'm here is to celebrate the greatest political comeback that has ever been seen, and it's a friend of mine that's done it. That's why I'm really here. And you told that party that you're going to be prime minister in 2029. Is that a serious goal now for yours? You think it can really happen? I think can win the next election. Yeah, no, I genuinely do, but that would take a very substantial lead over the two parties. Can you break the 30% barrier, for example, in the next couple years? That is what we have to do. That is absolutely what we have to do. And does that take effort on your part as well as waiting for Labour to collapse and the Tories to fade? No, we have to show we're credible. We have to show we have a vision for the country that is optimistic. Gosh, that word's missing in Britain, isn't it? And we've got to show we have a plan that allows us to become a much more confident country, a much more comfortable country. We've got to stop this endless self-loathing, and I actually believe that a lot of what's going to happen here over the next 4 years will be an enormous help to us in the UK. You're seeing it already. Think about my banking last year. I was closed down by the biggest bank in the country. Why? Because things I said didn't fit with their diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Meta have just scrapped it. The massive changes happening, and there are things that we do that America follows, but generally what happens in America first comes to us, and there is this massive cultural shift coming. Neither the Labor nor conservative parties can cope with it, because it's under them that this whole restrictive, awful sort of world full of negativity has been allowed to thrive. So look, we are about opportunism for any individual who's opportunistic, who wants have a go, can get on. We've got to get back to a more meritocratic state, and they're the kind of things we're going to stand for. And I think when it comes to really the biggest issue that affects the lives of British people and the decline in their living standards, which has happened so dramatically over the last few years, the population explosion has done more to harm people's everyday lives than anything else. Both parties are responsible. Actually, Tory is worse than Labour. Tory is worse than Labour, so we're providing a proper alternative. We know what we believe in, and I feel very optimistic. Yet talking about migration, one of Donald Trump's big pledges is to deport many hundreds of thousands, millions of foreign criminals. Is that something you will be in the Reform Manifesto in 2029? If you come to Britain illegally, you are not stay, but will you work through the list of foreign-born criminals that have already committed crimes beyond being in the country legally? Oh, look, I mean anybody that has come into our country and abused our trust and generosity in that way. They shouldn't be. There are a lot of left-wingers criticize you for not being clant enough, and I don't think that understands what your job is meant to be. I mean, this is absolutely comical. I mean, how often is Keir Starmer in whole lear, And actually, I tell you what I mean. I just think about next week. I'm going to be in Clat in 3 days next week. I've got a business seminar with 120 local businesses coming. I'm pretty active. I think you'd be surprised. Actually, I'm very efficient in terms of how I use my time and what I do, and we've built the Clacton Party membership keeps on growing. We've got a lot of local businesses on side with us. I mean, nobody's perfect, but I think I'm doing a reasonable job, and I just wonder, do you think occasionally there's a trap that especially right-wingers in Britain can fall into, where enjoying American politics a bit too much can cloud judgments about what British voters are interested or really care about, because they're not identical, are they? They're very different, of course. They're not. There are some big differences. God, guns, I mean these are quite big differences, but there's an awful lot in common as well. And my whole life, my whole adult life from the age of 18 has been intertwined with America, because I work for American companies. For the whole of my working life, for the last 10 years I've come back and forth. I've been a contributor to Fox News, so I have a very big interest in America, but you know what? Without America, we're defenseless. America is our biggest trading partner. No, there's no country in the world with which we do more business, and there are things in America that I don't applaud. What I do applaud in America is the canned attitude. And just think about this. In 2008, the American economy was the same size as the Euro zone, the beloved Eurozone. That the Financial Times and the Labour Party and the National Farmers Union all wanted to join. 2008, the economy is the same size. Today, the American economy has double the size of the Eurozone. So should we follow success or failure? And what is Keir Starmer doing, resetting us with the EU? There is a better model here to follow, where people actually get wealthier and have better lives. Is Donald Trump good? By Greenland 60% yes. Think, would you be in favor of banning TikTok in Britain. No, I wouldn't, even despite the China threat. I'm concerned about the ownership, but for a huge number of young people it is. Their sole means having a window on the world. If is Donald Trump going to return the church or bus to the Oval Office? The Lord, yes, on day one of course he is. Don't be ridiculous, and that says it all. This is the most pro-British president since Eisenhower. We've got somebody who is very, very much his mother's son, you know, and his mom may have left the Western AR when she was young, but she